So this is my review for episode 15 of Arrow, called The Dodger. We are this time after a jewel thief who uses explosive necklaces to make people steal for him. Felicity wants Arrow to go after the Dodger, and Arrow wants to go after his list. So they argue, and she quits for like 5 minutes. But he ends up going after his list, but we don't see it. Some Ponzi scheme guy that doesn't mean anything. But meanwhile, the Dodger is trying to fence his stolen jewels and ends up killing a criminal. Well, since this episode has a lot of similar storylines going on, I'm just going to go through each one. Let me know in the comments whether this way is better. I'm just trying to improve my reviews. Anyways, there's a lot of dating in this episode. Yeah. Dig finally asks out Carly, his dead brother's wife, and they go on their date. Meanwhile, and then, of course, their first date doesn't go well because he keeps talking about his brother and how weird it is. And she's like, dude, you're a hunka burning Dig. I don't want to talk about your brother. So, first date doesn't go well. And then at the end, they have another date, and they agree that they've waited long enough and they should give it a try and see if they can build a strong relationship and all that goodness. So Owen asks out the cop that I mentioned a couple episodes ago, the chick from the L Word, and they go on their first date, and all she wants to talk about is the island, so he gets all upset and doesn't want to talk about the island. So their first date doesn't go well. You seeing a theme yet? And then they agree that they should give it a try, and they were together once and they can be together again. Even the sister gets a little bit of love story. And here's the big twist to the episode. There's a thief another thief who steals her purse. And the thief is Roy Harper. Speedy from the comics, who in the comics was Green Arrow's sidekick for over 30 years. In this, she's Speedy and he is a thief. And they have a little moment at the end, and it looks like he's going to be her romantic interest for a while to come. Back on Flashback Island, Deathstroke has been shot, and Oliver decides he's going to go back to the cave where his little Chinese friend has super herbs. That's what they call them. And he goes back to get the super herbs that can cure anything. And while he's there, a guy wanders into the cave, bleeding half to death, with his arms tied behind his back. They don't show us much of that for a little bit, but when they finally come back, the guy says that he was on a boat with two friends that crashed, and he washed up on the shore and was so happy when he saw the soldiers. And then the soldiers beat him half to death, tied his arm behind his back, and left him for dead. And Oliver doesn't believe him. Leaves him laying there in the cave to die, and walks back to the ship to give Deathstroke the super herbs. And that's it. He just leaves some poor guy to die. Our hero, everybody. So now that the Dodger has killed a criminal, Now he's a threat to the city, and the Arrow decides to go after him. They use the cop's phone, they bug her phone, and use it to figure out when they're doing a bust on the Dodger. And of course, the cops screw everything up by once again just running and shooting, barely declaring themselves. They don't try to put anyone undercover. They just run in shooting again. And the Dodger gets away. With a little help from Felicity, who is back on Team Arrow again, they figure out that the Dodger only steals gem from a certain decade of Spanish history. Oh. But, of course, the Queens own one of these pieces, and they put it up for a charity auction to lure the Dodger out. Of course, Felicity gets in the way, gets one of the explosive necklaces put around her neck, and Arrow has to chase down the Dodger before the necklace explodes. Now, here's why he's our hero. The Dodger is in a car, speeding away from the scene. And what does he do? Just beats up a biker and steals his bike. Yeah. Guy's standing there, he's like, I need your bike. Guy's like, what, are you kidding me? Like, no. Kicks him a couple times in the gut, steals his bike, and chases after the Dodger. Never mentioned again. Don't know if he gave the guy the bike back. No idea. And as horrible casting. The biker is this big Harley Davidson riding, bearded, long-haired, leather jacket, and his bike is a little crotch rocket. So Mom gets her storyline in here. She doesn't get a lot of scenes, but it's going to be something important. She decides she doesn't want to be a bad guy anymore. After being threatened by the Arrow, she has decided the undertaking is no longer good for the city. And she calls up a guy named Frank, and they talk about it. They don't show us anything about it till the very end, where she meets with the Asian Mafia and tells them that she's hiring them to kill Malcolm Merlyn, Tommy's dad. And that's how we end the episode. So, to sum up, the Dodger gets caught. Dig, Oliver, and his sister all get love interests. Mom is trying to find the error in her ways and change things. And looks like we're going to get a little bit more of Malcolm Merlyn's Black Arrow coming up soon, fighting the Asian Mafia. Well, thank you for watching. If you made it all the way through, be sure to comment, tell me what I did wrong, and I'll try to do better next time.